Welcome to another edition of 7 Minutes with the Word. I'm going to read with you Jude chapter 1 verse 4. Jude writes, "For certain individuals whose condemnation was written about long ago have secretly slipped in among you. They are ungodly people who pervert the grace of our God into a license for immorality and deny Jesus Christ, our only sovereign and Lord." I'll be talking to you on what I've titled the perversion of grace. Now we're all used to the doctrine of grace, and this doctrine is even something that is predominant in the New Testament, especially in Paul's teaching. And today I want to draw our attention to the fact that grace can be misunderstood and grace can be abused. The abuse of grace is often the result of the misunderstanding of grace. And that's actually what Jude is focusing on in this particular text. There are three things about the perversion of grace that I want to draw your attention to from this particular text. The first is that grace can be perverted. Jude is emphatic here that there are some people who pervert the grace of God. The Amplified talks about distorting the grace of God. Anytime we make the grace of God to mean what it was never meant, we distort the grace of God. Anytime we make the grace of God to do what it was never meant to do, we pervert the grace of God. Anytime we cause the grace of God to function out of what God designed it for, we are perverting the grace of God. So this is the first thing I want to draw your attention to. The grace of God can be perverted, and I pray that you will never be one who pervert the grace of God. The second thing that I see in this text is that there are ways through which grace can be perverted. Here, Jude emphasizes two ways through which grace can be perverted. The first way is that the perversion of grace consists in using grace as a covering for sin. If you read back into the text, it says that there are ungodly people who pervert the grace of our God into a license for immorality. In other words, these people use the grace of God as a password to sin, as a password for lasciviousness, as a password for immorality. I want you to understand, I want myself to understand that because the grace of God comes from a holy God, we cannot use the grace of God to do what is unholy. You cannot hide under grace and commit sin and practice sin. Grace is not a password to live and practice sinfulness. This should be very clear in our mind, especially for those of us who feel that since grace is free, we can use that grace to do any kind of thing. The second way through which the grace of God is perverted, says Jude, is that it consists in denying the lordship of Christ and his masterhood. There are actually two words that Jude is using here: Kyrios and Despotes. He's using these two titles with regard to our Lord Jesus. He says that when you deny that Christ is Kyrios, that is his Lord, and you deny that he's Despotes, master, then you are rejecting the grace of God. Kyrios, which is translated by sovereign in some Bible versions, is the term that is generally translated Lord. Lordship, Kyrios translates the idea of Christ's lordship, the idea of his rulership, of his reign. And Despotes has the idea of Christ's supreme authority, ultimate authority. So somebody who embraces grace is somebody who embraces the lordship of Christ, the reign of Christ, the rulership of Christ, his supreme authority, and you respond to Christ as Kyrios and Despotes through total abandonment, through total commitment, through total allegiance, loyalty, obedience to his person. The third thing I want to draw your attention to in this text when it comes to the perversion of grace is that Jude names those who pervert the grace of God. You see, in the text, it is said that there are ungodly people who pervert the grace of God. The word that is translated by ungodly people here is azebia. In ancient Greek and ancient Rome, an azebia was an individual who was under the criminal charge of mocking God, of desecrating God and the things of God, of irreverence towards the things of God, and even irreverence towards parents. But that was characterized by disobedience, disloyalty. So Jude is telling us that the perverters of grace, the azebia, are mockers of God. They are irreverent to God. They trample upon feet the things of God. So I do not want you to be one who pervert the grace of God, because this is something that is grave, that is terrible. When you mock God, when you desecrate the things of God, God is not going to take it easy with you. I pray for the grace to indeed live according to grace, live a holy life, live a consecrated life, live a life of allegiance to our Lord and our Master, Jesus Christ. The Lord bless you abundantly. Please like our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you receive a notification anytime a new content is uploaded. Thank you very much.